Manazarly and Benares, and in the interest of a Monasterly child, is there one spelling has a T, one does not? Which is correct?
The one with the T, Judge.
Okay, because in the way the case file is set up, in the petitioner's box, it only has SERLY, not STE. But anyway, all right. So appearances, please.
Aaron Leake for petitioner, Ismail Monasterly.
Brian McGivern for respondent, Hannah Benares. Benares.
All right. And y'all were here. Let me read that docket note. You were here on the 6th. Had some translator issues. Guardian had just been assigned and there was no report. TRO extended to the 20th. All right. So who's moving today, Ms. Leakey?
Yes, it's my motion.
All right. What's going on?
So we obtained the TRO in December, Judge, due to mom's mental health. She was committed to Austin Oaks due to threats, like pursuits for herself, and then also threats in regards to the child. We've had mental health issues prior to that in this case, and we've also had like food issues regarding her and the child previously. Since we've had the reset on January 6th, we were assigned a guardian ad litem in this case. She has been able to do a home visit with my client. I believe that she spoke to Ms. Benares.
And hold on just a second. There's not a guardian here. Did we tell her about today? Where is she?
She's here, Judge. It's Ms.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Since that time, I believe that she has been able to do at least the beginning part of her investigation, and she does have recommendations that she would like to make to the court today. I would like to get those recommendations that she has made put into an interim order. If we don't have time to do the full temporary orders hearing today, we at least need to get some of those recommendations placed. If we have time to do a temporary orders hearing today, I would be asking the court to keep Ms. Benares supervised in her visitation, at least for now, and then award my client either sole managing conservatorship or JMC with exclusive rights. And I think that you'll hear from Ms. Lovelace why that is important today, especially on the educational, medical, and psychiatric and psychological rights for this particular child.
How old is this child?
She is 3. She'll be 4 in April.
Well, education, is she in some kind of preschool?
She needs to be enrolled in a pre-K program at the recommendation of her pediatrician and Ms. Lovelace. The child has been recommended. She was previously in speech therapy under our prior temporary orders. Judge, I don't know if you remember, you ordered that Mr. Monasterly have possession of the child during that time to ensure that the child was going to speech therapy. Unfortunately, that broke down this fall, and the child was not able to make it to speech therapy because mom didn't release the child to my client. After several no-shows, they released her from therapy. So my client needs to be able to get her re-enrolled into speech therapy. The pediatrician has made recommendations for occupational therapy assessments. That needs to be accomplished. There's also a referral to go see a neurologist for an assessment, which also needs to be taken care of. The occupational therapy assessment, my client has set that for January 28th. But under the current temporary orders, he actually has no right to do so. So we do need to get some.
Well, he's a parent, isn't he?
He is, but under the order, she has sole for psychiatric and psychological and medical decision making. And I'm not sure what kind of occupational therapy that is specifically, and where that would fall on the list. But I do have concerns about that, as well as with the neurologist and then the school.
Okay. Anything else?
I think that's the main things that we're at least going to need interim orders on today if we're not going to have a full-blown hearing. I guess we need to decide if Brian thinks that we can have the full hearing today or if we want to get it reset.
All right. Let's hear from Mr. McGivern.
My preference would be a reset. We're not prepared to go forward with the hearing today. I'm at a slight disadvantage in that I'm not sure what Ms. Lovelace's recommendations are. I don't know if an email went to spam or perhaps my email address it gets misspelled sometimes. But with regard to enrolling the child in education, taking the child to the doctor, we would have no opposition to
It is the current order that Ms. Benares has only supervised possession.
Under the TRO, yes.
And so Mr. Monasterly has had the child since that TRO was issued?
Yes.
Yes, since December.
Okay. All right. I just haven't had time. I know I dealt with it before, but I didn't have time before this hearing started to look and refresh my memory about what had gone on. So I apologize for not seeming to know what you're talking about when I've had it before. But when I read my notes, it will come back to me. So anything other than just putting it off, Ms. McGivern, that you want to tell me, or just wait a minute?
Well, I'm not sure that there's anything that I need to tell you for purposes today. I mean,
Okay.
We're not conceding the underlying accusations, certainly, but for purposes of today, I don't think we need to get into that.
Did you all talk about a date to come back on? Is that agreed to?
Yes. February 10th. And I will agree to that date and the reset if I can get the kid enrolled into the pre-K. And I think she needs an assessment through the school district and the occupational therapy and the neurologist. I just want to make sure that all of that is going to be.
Well, Mr. McGivern, is there any issue with putting the kid in pre-K? No. She's 3, so she'd be in pre-K 3. Can you just can you pop into? So my understanding of how this works, and I haven't had little kids in a zillion years, but there's pre-K 3 and pre-K 4, and not every school has that. But that's what's available. And so if there's pre-K 3, can you just start midway through like this? Does anybody know if that presents any issues?
I believe that they have to. I think Ms. Lovelace knows, but if you want to speak to that, I think you just took her.
What do you know, about that, Ms. Lovelace?
Hi, there's Langford Elementary in the neighborhood where the paternal grandparents and the father live, and they are enrolling for pre-K 3 currently. We attempted to do that today. I encountered the mother, and I had the mother come to the school with the father, and the mother was not willing to enroll the child into the school.
Okay, but it could be done. All right. So it's possible. Yes, and so, Mr. McGivern, to me, that doesn't seem like much of a difficult decision. Why wouldn't we put the kid in pre-K 3?
Well, I guess at this moment, Ms. Lovelace has a greater idea of my client's position on that than I do. As I stand here, I have no argument to offer in opposition to that.
All right. Well, then let's hear what Ms. Lovelace thinks needs. So if you come back, and I'm sorry, Ms. Lake, it sounded like you were conditional on coming back on the 10th. You're conditional to the 10th so long as she's put into pre-K 3 and we start the process for these various evaluations, which we don't control, and all we can do is we're at the school's mercy for that kind of thing. But as long as the child's enrolled and that process starts, that satisfies a big part of what you're looking for.
Yeah, and the TRO remains in place. I just want to make sure she gets into the pre-K program. She can do her occupational evaluation, which is through a private provider, I believe, not through the school. And then her neurological evaluation, which is also through a private provider, not through the school, and that we can get her re-enrolled into speech.
But there is actually a date certain for OT and the other one.
Yes, the
Okay.
28th of January. And then I think the other one was the beginning of March, which we can probably deal with on the 10th, but I just want to make sure that in case we have any other issues, we're covered for that.
All right. Well, let's hear from the guardian and see what she thinks we need to do immediate. What, Ms. Lovelace, tell us what you think needs to happen immediately, and then what might wait to a full hearing.
Okay. I would like for the court to order that HIPAA releases be signed by the mother. I encountered the mother today. She would not sign the HIPAA releases for me. I'm asking that the child.
For her and the child, for just her, who do you want?
I would like the HIPAA releases to be ordered for the mother to sign a release so that I can obtain her information. I would also like for her to sign a HIPAA release so I can obtain the child's information.
And
I would like the mother to go to the school with the father in order to enroll the child into Langford Elementary. I would like the mother to help enroll the child into speech therapy and to follow all recommendations until the practice doesn't believe that the baby needs to continue to be in speech therapy. I would like for the mother to consent for the child to be enrolled in occupational therapy and to follow all recommendations. I would like the mother to consent for the child to see a neurologist because there are some concerns, and to follow those recommendations. I would like the mother to continue to be supervised with the child. I have concerns about the mother's mental health from my observations today when I saw her. I would like the mother to see the child 2 hours twice per week. The paternal grandmother and I have come up with a plan to where she can supervise the mother and the child outside of the home in order for mom to see her daughter.
Is that paternal grandmother?
Paternal grandmother, yes.
And so
Mr. Monasterly's mother.
How has Ms. Benares been seeing the child since the TRO got signed? Not at all, or supervised by the grandmother, or some other way?
I believe that she has been calling through WhatsApp, and she's had some visitation on WhatsApp with the child. And based on what I observed today and learned from being out here at the house, the mother is showing up unannounced, requesting to have visitation.
So there is no visitation that's happening except telephonically
on WhatsApp, just FaceTime on WhatsApp.
Right, but not. But the TRO says she can't have any unsupervised time. It just didn't set up a supervision mechanism. Is that correct?
There was a recommendation. There was a recommendation in the order for her to access the Kids Exchange Network, but that had not happened. And so there's been no supervised contact, physical contact.
All right, one moment while I look at the
we attempted to set up visitation.
I just need you all to stop. I said I need to read the order. I would like to have the courtesy of being given the attention I need to look at that order, please. So it looks like in the original TRO, she was supposed to have 2 visits a week for 4 hours as a DRO approved place at Mr. Monasterly's expense. And so, but no detail on days or times or any of that, just y'all work together and do that kind of thing. So all right. So Miss Lovelace, anything else you're asking for us to do? Order. You got the records release, the cooperation to enroll in the various activities you discussed, setting up the supervised visits to be supervised by the paternal grandmother, who's apparently willing to do that. What else are you asking for immediately, if anything?
I would like to request that the father be given rights to make educational and medical decisions.
Okay, anything else?
Not at this time.
All right. So Mr. McGivern, so we're talking about extending the TRO, which is generally trying to, as you know, we continue the previous TROs. So the supervision is already in the existing TROs, except it's by an entity and not the paternal grandmother. The court is always nervous with any relatives supervising, be it same side of the family or other side of the family. This all seems fresh and new to you, Mr. McGee. I mean, you haven't heard what Ms. Lovelace said before now. Do you have any thought about whether his mother would be an appropriate person to supervise?
Well, I have strong misgivings. My belief is that the court, when you granted temporary sole managing conservatorship to my client with the temporary orders hearing, that it was in no small part because of testimony about the conduct of Mr. Monasterly's father and what we would characterize as the abusive nature of his father's conduct. And so I don't have new information beyond that. I mean, my preference would be.
Well, that's the father, not the mother. Although I understand that sometimes those are inextricably linked. I mean, so I get that.
Our concern, based including the testimony of the observations of Shrita Lynch and the guardian at that time, was that, I mean, it seemed like there was a dynamic where, I mean, even the paternal grandmother was not entirely outside of the influence of the paternal grandfather. And so, not knowing if the situation has changed, I guess my preference would be to continue to allow my client, if she chooses to opt for the Children's Exchange Network or Kids Exchange Network. And if for some reason she would prefer that it be paternal grandmother, that she be allowed to opt for that instead, and that take for the same, not for an additional amount of time, but.
She showed up unannounced at the paternal grandparents' house yesterday and today to have visits. Grandmother did supervise and there wasn't a problem with that. My concern is that if we keep it under the paid supervision, is my client has completed his intake with the one that we found to do, but Ms. Benares has not, which means she hasn't been able to see the child.
Well, but that's her fault, not his fault.
I know that, but it sounds. I mean, maybe we just leave it up to her, but it sounds like since she's going to their home in order to see the child, and I feel like she may be okay with paternal grandmother.
And that may be true. I mean, I think what I would request is that we allow her to, if she wants to have supervision, supervised by paternal grandmother, allow her to opt into that as the alternative. But should that go sideways or go sour for some reason before we come back, allow her to opt into the Kids Exchange Network instead, as per the original order.
And I think if we could just have that maybe go both ways, in case paternal grandmother no longer feels comfortable supervising, we can opt back into the paid supervision.
So Ms. Lovelace, hearing a year ago, actually almost a year to the day, actually a year to the day.
The judge listens carefully to both sides, weighing practicality against safety, because the real priority here is making sure the child maintains contact with her mother while still protecting her well-being.
Miss Graber was talking about, mother had some situational depression that would be consistent with the situation before us. But there wasn't health and safety issues. What is it that mom's done that's caused concern in the last year?
So I made a home visit to see the father and was able to observe the child. And I have concerns about the child's physical health. She's very, very underweight. Didn't look well. Wasn't talking, isn't potty trained. Just overall, it doesn't appear that she's been cared for. I think last week the family had her maybe for 2 weeks. And during that time, she's gained 3 pounds. I have made multiple attempts to try to contact the mother. I have emailed her in Arabic twice. I have texted her. I've tried to go through her advocate. I have emailed the attorney. I made an unannounced home visit. And then today she showed up at the paternal grandparents' house and I was able to encounter her and see her. She does not look well. She is extremely thin. She does not look well cared for. She doesn't look like she's taking care of herself. Very
Does she
emotional.
have money to take? Does she have money to take care of herself?
Yes, it's my understanding that she gets child support and spousal support. She does not look well. Her mental health does not look well.
Mr.
I'm
McGivern, how
concerned.
much money? Mr. McGivern, how much money is Mr. Monasterly paying your client?
Total of $600 a month.
And all bills.
600?
And all bills and all the household, he's covering all of her bills. And on top of that,
All the bills and 600 cash.
yes. And
Okay.
it's
All right.
my understanding that she's also receiving, we can get into this, but she, in the previous hearing, the one we had even before you, we had issues with food, her not feeding the baby, and her not feeding herself, as well as throwing away food that Mr. Monasterly was providing them because she thought that it was poisoned. And so
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Well, so we're coming down. Well, okay. So thank you for fleshing all that out. So here's where I am. We're talking about moving it to the 10th, which is a whole 20 days to 21 days. Is that, actually, I haven't looked at the calendar. Is that 3 weeks from today, 3 weeks from yesterday?
3
it's
weeks.
a Friday.
3 weeks. So it's 3 weeks from today. All right. So not a lot can happen in 3 weeks. I certainly think that the child needs to be enrolled in pre-K. I think that's a no-brainer. I don't have an issue with having Ms. Benares sign HIPAA releases for her and the child. Someone can write up and I can sign today a 1-page order that directs, that authorizes Mr. Monasterly to by himself enroll the child in Langford Elementary School. And you could also say that he has the sole right to consent to medical and educational decisions. And then he could get the child enrolled and set up those OT, ST, the neurological, all those things that you need to do. And that doesn't prejudice Ms. Benares in any way, because that just means one person can do it and not both of them, which might make that situation easier. On the possession and access for another 3 weeks, if she's willing to let the grandmother and not the grandfather, and then Ms. Lovelace, how do you see these visits? Where do you see these visits occurring?
The plan is to have her supervised in the community. There is a park near the home where she lives that she can go and see her child.
The guardian explains what she observed during a home visit with the child. According to her testimony, the child appeared extremely underweight and behind in development.
Chuck E. Cheese, Gaddy Town,
Okay, no, and that's that's
from the
good.
home.
I just don't want either Mr. Manasterly or his father being present at those events.
Understood. That we can make that happen.
So I would say, because she needs to be comfortable with it, because my previous notes indicate a concern for domestic violence by Mr. Manasterly against Ms. Benares. And so I'm cognizant of that. But and I don't know, Mr. McGivern, do you have an understanding why visits at agency didn't occur? Because as I read, and I haven't had time to read everything hard, but I thought he was being ordered to pay for all that. And so how is it that it didn't happen?
I don't know. I haven't been able to achieve effective communication with my client. I assumed it was a language barrier. I'm surprised to hear that Miss Lovelace encountered her at the school, and I don't know what the details are of that.
Does she have much English, or is she totally dependent on an interpreter?
Totally dependent on an interpreter to my knowledge. We, in the past, have been able to get by with Google Translate, but I've always wondered how well that actually works with the Arabic dialect, or excuse me, the Moroccan dialect of Arabic. Detailed conversations are always by phone with an actual spoken interpreter.
Miss Lovelace, how are you? Are you a surprising Arabic speaker as well, or did you use Google Translate too?
No, sir. When I saw her today face to face, she was able to speak English to me and understand me.
Oh, interesting. Okay. All right. All right. Well, so then where I'm at is TRO extended till the 20th. I'm sorry, the 10th. The school enrollment, the one-page order, or as I'm envisioning it, one page, someone's got to write it, can be what it is. But dealing with the school and, or basically, maybe since you've already, someone who's done the order extendings before.
I drafted them, and I can draft it under like a motion to or order to extend, and then do an interim order for the other issues, or I can combine them all into one under one interim order.
I think I would just call it order to extend TRO and interim orders and just do one document is what, I mean, you can kill all the trees you want, but that's how I do it. But I'm not the boss of you, so do it if you want to do two, you can do two. But I'd be happy with one. Okay. Mr. McGivern, any issues with her in a typical case? People are going to be ordered to sign HIPAA releases. Do you have a argument against that?
No, I don't have an argument against that.
And Ms. Benares was ordered to sign the HIPAA releases at our first temporary restraining order hearing, and then she was ordered again to do it by a date certain on the January 6th hearing, and she did not comply with that. So I think she needs to be reordered to do it. But at this point, I'll probably
I don't know that she has to be reordered. If it's in an order, it's in an order. And so I get amused when people want me to reorder people to do things they're already ordered to do. Although I understand how perhaps another order might catch their attention. I do actually understand that. But so if you're doing the drafting, if you want to stick it in, and then it's all in one order as well, which is also kind of nice. But somehow Mr. McGivern is going to need to engage her a little bit more to hopefully get her agreement on some of these things, because she was coming from a place of an elevated place a year ago, and she's kind of the situation's kind of deteriorated. And
Now the judge is trying to balance two competing realities: a mother who may be experiencing serious personal difficulties, and a child who urgently needs stability, medical care, and structured development support.
that doesn't make anybody a bad person, but it makes one worried about what's going on. And it would be consistent with a person in this situation having difficulties because of the situation. So I'm not blaming her or fussing at her. I'm just genuinely concerned that she's not getting what she needs. She's not getting the support. And there's all kinds of reasons why that can happen. Given cultural barriers and language barriers. So hopefully something can help spark this in the right direction. What else can I say or clarify? Have questions? What can I help you with?
Does the right for medical and educational go to psychiatric and psychological? I just don't know where that line is. Some of these things.
I don't know that you need anything. So the kid needs to be in school, and she needs these various medical things started. I don't know that the child needs psychological treatment now. So she's 3. At best, she's going to have play therapy if she needs it. Do we need to address therapy for the child today, Ms. Lovelace?
I would like for that to be considered.
Let's save that. Let's save that for the 10th.
Okay.
I just know, Judge, sometimes when we get them in for assessments, some of those testing that they do at school sometimes crosses the line.
Well, that's educate. Dad has the right to make educational decisions, medical decisions, and you should spell out consent to that. That includes consent to any occupational therapy, speech therapy, physical therapy, a neurology assessment, any school testing. You can expand that if you feel like there's some part of what he's trying to do is going to get snagged by someone not viewing that order as broadly as we do, then throw in a few more words, because we're talking about a known number of things that need to be done, the different therapies and the assessment. So
yeah.
Anything else?
I'm good.
No, you're on.
All right, so let's get that done in the next couple of days. Miss Leak, here. Let's try to have that done by the end of the business Monday. If we need to get on a conference call to hash out any details with Mr. McGivern on language, I'm not sure at this moment. I think I've not been assigned a case on Monday, so I'll have plenty of time Monday to help you all.
Right. And Mr. McGivern and I are in trial again with each other on Tuesday, so we'll
all right.
We'll be.
So here's where the judge ultimately lands. The full hearing will be postponed for 3 weeks, but the court refuses to leave the situation unresolved in the meantime. The judge orders that the child must be enrolled in preschool immediately. He also grants the father temporary authority to make educational and medical decisions, so therapy appointments and evaluations can move forward without delays. The temporary restraining order will remain in place, meaning the mother's visit stays supervised for now. The judge makes it clear that these steps are not meant to punish anyone. They're meant to protect the child while the court gathers more information. But one thing is obvious by the end of this hearing. The judge is deeply concerned about what is happening in this family, and the next hearing could determine the future of this child's custody.